Was it a pre-designed goal or intention to principally, focus on the character of Victoria, or was there a discussion about when the guys should be more in the center of the frame, or when was it? Or was it all just seat of your pants type stuff? What you instinctively saw as you were shooting the film that took precedence.
Definitely Victoria was the anchor, so I knew that was always the main focus of, if I was ever in doubt, I should go to her. But I think in the beginning of the process, the boys were more included, and Victoria kind of grew during the rehearsals and the whole process of making the film, which was kind of also a script writing process and editing process. She kind of grew more and more as the kind of strong character as she ends up in this version of the film that you've seen.
And then again, this is probably for both of you, because it was, I imagine it was a joint decision. But you're making this movie, and it almost challenges you to be perfect. You almost can't make a blatant mistake, otherwise you got to just stop. And what went into the decision then to widen the image out, since you couldn't capture any of the half a dozen or more crews that you had from location to location? You opted for a widescreen CinemaScope image rather than something that was a little bit more compressed. Was that, why did you make that decision, really?
Why did we make it?
I don't know, man. Yeah. Kind of made that call.
I mean,
really? Was my call?
By definition, there's more of a margin for error.
That's how the camera came. Just at that.
No, we wanted obviously a cinematic experience of the film. We didn't just, we knew that it would have this very kind of intuitive documentary style feeling to it, but we also wanted it to have some sort of more, cinematic weight in a way. So that, I guess that decision came from that. But yeah, I think we also did catch some crew members in there
on the margins.
Yeah, and also for me, as I remember, there were like two huge decisions we were making, and the first one I recall that we called what the camera is, like a wall photographer. So the first call, because we shot a 10-minute short in a hotel room, basically, to convince people to give us money. There were some people say, yeah, it sounds like a great story, totally brainless to shoot in one shot. That's not possible. And they were right in some way. And I said, well, then I got a little fight with them, and they said, okay, I can prove it. Okay, prove it. I said, I'll shoot you. That's not even possible for 5 minutes. I said, I give you 10 minutes. So we went to a hotel room kind of a couple of months before we shot Victoria. And we had 3 of the boys, Boxer, the bold guy, Blinker, and Sonne were the only ones that were cast by then. So we have a little scene with them in a hotel room. And it's a great little short, but it was the typical, a little bit, where the camera knows what's going to happen next, anticipating, this guy's crossing over, so we can pan, then he picks up, detail, so it becomes a ballet kind of dance. And Sturla and I, knew afterwards, that's not how we're going to do Victoria. So one of the first essential calls was to not anticipate, but to have the camera in the moment. And it also freed Sturla of, like, you can make mistakes, because what a wall photographer who's just filming a girl, follows her along, and then can't stop filming would do, It's also hiding from the flying bullets later on in the shootout. So I remember that, because I think what really we watch films is, sometimes, what do I make films for? What are films being made for? Is that like to give you something to think about for the brain, or is it for the heart? I believe it's for the nervous system. I have a feeling that we watch films with our nervous system. That's why they can be so annoying to us, because then we're like stressed out, or they can make us happy or fulfilled or whatever. And that's why I think you all know the feeling. You watch a film with a friend or with a girlfriend, boyfriend, and you come out of the cinema and you don't know yet if they liked it or not. But you, like for example, you loved it or you hated it. And I get very shy in moments like that. So did you like it? And, you know, because you know, you can spend hours discussing it. It won't change anything. They hated it, you loved it, that's a problem, you know. Or it's the other way around, because it's not being discussed on the rational level. You felt it or you didn't. You were in it or you weren't. You know, and I'm saying that because we found out that on that level, if the camera would anticipate, if the camera would know stuff, or would look like it would know stuff, it would take away from this is really happening. And I think it's one of the essentials of the way we did this film, that the camera does not know. And that gives our spine the chance to kind of go in. And that was, I think, because of course I could not control the shots, that I didn't have a screen. I looked over Sturla's shoulder at best, but we could talk about something like that. And then I think the next step, which was also big, but maybe not as big as the first one, was that we knew this is really all about Victoria. So we go into the POVs of Victoria, but we always got to catch her again. We always got to remember, oh, what does she think? How is this for her? Oh, so that is, we kind of always dance around her. But it's not a ballet, where every dance move is choreographed. It's a modern dance, but it's still a dance, and of course it had rules.
Laia, your performance is singular and spectacular in this film.
Woo!
We see this incredible arc, which feels like a lifetime, even though you think about it at the end, you realize, oh my God, this is not a lifetime, this is 2 hours and 15 minutes. But in the preparation, in discussions with Sebastian, and in discussions with perhaps your other actors, how much of a backstory was there in the character? I mean, did you have a family in Spain? Did you have a boyfriend in Spain? Did you, how much of that existed for you in preparation for the film or while you were making the movie?
I like you said about the lifetime, because sometimes we have like very small times, but they change our life. And I think that for her, the last 2 hours of her life, it's not the girl we see at the beginning, it's someone completely different. But you can feel like, oh my God, it has been like alive. And that something can happen to all of us. And the thing is that we work a lot on the background of all the characters, and that's one of the things that I like, is that the movie doesn't explain it to you. But you can guess a little bit about her in the piano scene, in some moments when she's alone, you can kind of guess it, although she doesn't want to show it to you. But I think that was a very nice creative process, because we work on that a lot. So she has a family, of course, in Madrid, and she has been, if I say to you, 17 years playing the piano, 8 hours every day, you can create an image in your mind about her. And I saw some documentaries about these genius children playing the piano, and these lives are like really, I don't want to say shit, but okay, shit, but it's like hard. So, but that helped me a lot. I mean, I think that the one take, it's like house. And it's something that, it's a chaos that worked because we did our homework before. And then you can be free, and you can be safe, and you can play the rules of improvised acting, because you know exactly what's going on here with with her and with the location and the objective of every scene and the other guys. And that was a very amazing process.
Can we, do we have a question? Yeah.
I'm curious, can you talk a little about the mechanics of actually having one rehearsal process? I assume you did individual scenes separately, and but it came time to put it all together and actually make the movie. Did you do it more than once, or did you have to do it more than once, or was it just lucky enough to get it the first time?
The question was about, can you describe the mechanics of the rehearsal process and then, you know, how it all evolved into how it was finally shot?
Yeah. To be honest, yeah, the mechanics. We did rehearse. We worked on the logistics, but to be honest, it's very honest. The thing is to organize this chaos. That was a huge challenge, but you know, for first AD to organize the chaos of a shoot, they're kind of used to that. And it's sometimes people ask, you know, how long did you rehearse, you know, for this? And I think the best answer I could give is like, it's not really how long, but how. And I think the how is what Laia already referred to. We were talking about the core of these characters a lot, you know, and actually what it came down to is that the acting in front of the camera for 2 hours straight, that was the biggest challenge of this film, because, you know, a film is, you know, in lack of a better picture, it's like a river flowing, and it can go slow, but it can't stop. You know, if a river stops, it becomes a lake. And even if a river is flowing really slow, it's still a different thing than a lake or a pond. You know, and that, I think, was the biggest challenge, to really have this flow, to really push this river. And that was humongous. That was, and I think that was the most overwhelming challenge. And the only answer to that was performance. The only answer, the only thing that could keep it going, in our case, was performance. And the key of that, as funny as it might sound, is for me to ask the actors not to perform, but to go in 100%. Because more and more we worked on it, I told them, don't show me your talent. Don't show me how well you can perform, but I can only feel what you feel. So everything that's happening to you in the next 2 hours, you got to go in. Otherwise, it's gonna feel flat. And that is the only thing that would make this, that it will keep going. You know, and that was at points I was convinced it's not possible.
And the film was shot in its entirety 3 times, and we just saw
Yes.
the third take.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah.
There was a question up there. Yeah.
This is from Ms. Costa. I was curious. I'm a film major. Full disclosure. I'm curious. Was there ever any point where you just? I mean, you're acting for straight 2 hours with a camera very close to you the entire time. Was there ever any point where you just forgot it was there, or were you always aware of that camera right behind you?
No, from the first beginning, I was not aware of Sturla, poor Sturla. I mean, I think it's about the acting and also about Sturla not falling down the stairs, you know? But no, I asked Sebastian, look, can I push him? Because I'm not gonna be aware, I'm not gonna be thinking of him. So he said to me, yeah, you can push him. So I think he made an amazing work with the camera because he's improvising with us at the same time. It's like a dance with a camera in between. So I think he did a great job too.
Yeah.
I think the part of the charm of the movie is the dialogues between the actors with their imperfect English. Are they written down, or you're giving a scenario for your actors to act it out?
Was the dialogue written down, or did Sebastian give them a scenario or a script?
No, it was. This was based on 12 pages, and I did not write down any dialogue. And of course, that's you know, it's a big loss of control for me as a director. but I also gained, I'm 47, so if I write the dialogues for these kids, even if I do a lot of research, and I will always do something nostalgic about it, I will always draw a certain picture of how young people are. And I mean, even if you would ask them to write down the dialogue, they probably wouldn't have come up with this. Blinker always referring to his friends as motherfucking assholes, and Boxer, you asshole, you stupid asshole, let her drive, you don't even have a driver's license. But if anybody would have written that down as dialogue, and they would have studied it as lines, it would have been, I'm sure there's a good chance it would have been too heavy-handed. All the bad language, it would have been performed. But the way it came out now is really natural, and we get a sense that what Blinker is really saying is pretty much constantly, I love you guys. He's calling them assholes and whatever, but it really means, you're my family in some way.
And it was his to keep calling Laia's character, Victoria, sister.
Right. No, so what I did, for example, I sometimes, for example, in the cafe where Boxer and Sonne fight, I didn't give them the lines they should use to fight, but I gave them everything else. I gave them the whole layout of the situation. Boxer, maybe a couple of days back, maybe a couple of weeks back, asked his friends, including Sonne, guys, I gotta ask you for a favor one of those nights. Are you gonna, can you do me a favor? Big favor. And they said yes. And maybe he said, you don't have to do this. I know you're my brothers, but this will be a big favor. And they say, yeah. And the night comes and he asks for the favor, and then Sonne starts to ask questions that he could have asked 2 weeks ago. Why is he you ask a friend, can I borrow your car in 10 days? And then when the 10 days are up, he says, what is it for? Dude, you just should have said, no, I would have asked somebody else. That was his scenario. And for Sonne, I gave the scenario, man, Boxer's losing it. Obviously, he's crazy. He's getting more crazy by the day. And now this is obviously totally over the top. You can smell, you can't let that happen, and then I say, go. And I say, you don't have to say anything to each other. Don't hurt each other. Don't, throw punches, but go. I'm not going to talk about your body language. I'm not going to talk about what faces you make or what words you're going to use. But I want one thing for sure. You're going to fight. And you're not going to pretend like you're going to fight. I want to see you fight. So that's what I lose. I'm not writing the dialogue, I'm not micromanaging, but that's also what I get, because I get a fight. And by the end, when we finally filmed this, I got a lot. I got fights, I got a party, I got panic, I got pure fear, and I even got some boredom at the beginning, just shooting, I got all that, even though on the other hand, I lost so much. And I think that has a lot to do with that there's no written dialogue in this. Because I also didn't want them to go through now I have to say all these lines, over the next 2 hours. No, you don't have to say all these lines. You just have to go in, and really give me all you got.
Yeah, start. Yeah.
I have two questions, one to the DOP and one to the director. Did at any point somebody help you with the camera, take it from you? 2 hours and 15 minutes of one take on a Steadicam is a killer. And for the director, at any point during the shoot were you able to interfere or give directions during the shoot itself?
There was no Steadicam, it's all handheld, and I was the only operator.
I told you, suicide.
Yeah, very mind. I was more, a lot of times, also when I talked about the dialogue, a lot of times the way that I directed this film was like a coach, almost, You prepare everybody, you lay out plans, tactics, strategy, whatever. But when when the game starts, you're on the sidelines. And you can, what I had to learn though, don't underestimate the sideline. You know, the first, Jeff mentioned this, we shot this entirely for 3 times. And at the beginning I was more the coach that would kind of sit down. You know, I was not really as close as I could be. On the last one I was as close as I could be. And that gave me the chance. Is that a baby? That's cool. Did he watch the film? Maybe he's a big fan of the baby in the film now.
Maybe safe.
So I could call in stuff at moments, but that you couldn't call that directing. It was more like, I mean, there was one moment when they are escaping from the bank. I'm in the back of the car giving directions, and there were the false directions. So a lot of the chaos you see in that scene, you know, springs from that. And for example, like in the hotel room towards the end, when Sonne and Victoria come in and Sonne lays down, Laia wants to inspect the wound of Freddie, of Sonne, but there isn't a wound yet. I was hiding in the bathroom and kind of, you know, peeked out of the bathroom and saw her looking at his side for the wound, but it wasn't there yet, you know, so I could say, no, you know, cover him up, you know, go, and she forgot about it. She, in a way, you know, I think it's like, you, if I say it right, you forgot about it, not entirely, but you were so in the moment.
Yeah, I forgot.
You forgot, yeah. So there I could stop her or help or whatever.
Yeah, gentleman in the yellow.
Did you consider leaving the money at the end?
Did I consider that?
Well, I just wondered in the script.
Yes, we did. We did think about that. It was a thing, but we decided against it because we thought it would be too sweet. You know, this is a tough life. And
What did Victoria think?
huh?
What did Victoria think when she gave us the money?
Did you think it would have been a good idea if she left the money?
If she left the money.
Yeah.
In the hotel room.
Yeah, she
yeah.
left the money.
Actually, I didn't want to take the money. You remember that?
No, I don't.
You remember, right? I was talking to Eike, by the way, Eike, this guy over there, he's the mint bartender in the first opening scene, and he's my piano teacher because I cannot play the piano, and he taught me like really hard for a month every fucking morning with a cup of tea.
And he's also the co-writer, so that's Ike over there.
Exactly. So actually, I was like, no, I don't want to take the money. It's blood money. They are my friends. They were my family. I don't want to take the money. I feel like I don't have to take it. I'm not going to take it. So they were like, what? We have decided you have to take the money. But I was like, no, I don't want to take it. So we had to, but I think they had, because Sebastian with Sturla and with Ike and with Jan, the producer, they were looking at the material, and I think you were discussing about that issue too, right?
No, it can be discussed, you know, and it's not a clear-cut situation. So your question was, did we talk about it? We did talk about it. I think it's a good decision. I think it would be too sweet. I think this life is harsh for these kids, you know, underprivileged as they are, as the boys are, or formerly privileged as she was. For a lot of young people in this world, it's a tough life, and it's in a way, at the end, it's a tragedy, you know, and then she takes the money, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm curious what came first in terms of the inception of the project. Did you first decide that you were going to shoot a story in one take and then build a story around that? Or did you have the idea of this story with a robbery and then somewhere along the line decide to shoot it in one take?
Yeah, you know, you always have a lot of ideas, and it's your job to kind of differentiate which are the good ones and not the good ones, you know. So you spend a lot of time with that. I had the idea to make a film about a bank robbery, but I would have never done it without the idea of doing it in one take. So, and that, you know, the idea to do it in one take really made this project a project where I thought, this is going to be my next film. I'm going to do everything, but it wasn't like, I want to do a film in one take. What could that be about? You know, no, it was the bank robbery first. And it really had to do, you know, a lot of times, I believe directing, a lot of times is about making small things big and making big things small, you know. But also I know filmmaking sometimes is also very tempting to just make big things bigger. You know, so I think a lot of films, a lot of great films too, by the way, you know, they decide, you know, want to make a heist film, make the biggest heist ever. Make a film about the biggest heist ever, like lots of kidnapping or shootout and lots of gold, and that's cool. You know, I love all the Ocean's 11 movies. I love the Heat. You know, I love all that. But I also knew I wanted to do, you know, if that's a menu, I'm a chef, I'm a cook. I want to put something on the menu that's not there yet. So that's why I thought, like, let's make, you know, if I sometimes thought, I'm sometimes saying this now, that if I would have been the driver in the most boring bank robbery in the last 20 years in Canada, I don't know, you know, it would still be one of the, probably the super craziest thing I would have ever done in my life. So why is that? You know, it's a boring bank robbery. So I thought, like, why not try to capture the intensity of something that is really kind of small, maybe wouldn't even make it to the news, you know, but for the people involved, it's crazy. So that's when the one take came in.
Yes.
I have a question for the actor. Was it more difficult or easier to stay in character for that long period of time compared to other films where people are like, cut, you know, take a 10, take a 5, you know, when you really couldn't do that?
I had a great time. I loved the 3-1 takes, and I was like, I want to do it again, and they don't want to do it again.
We didn't have any more money, but that was it. We had money for 3 takes.
I know they were like worried and having pain moments, but for me it was great. I really love it.
Yes.
With the first 2 takes, did you guys go back over it, and did you see anything that you wanted to keep, or did you keep it fresh for the 3rd take too?
Did the actors see it again?
Did you like say that there was something there, keep that?
Yeah, I saw stuff in the first 2 takes that I really liked. Yeah, I never showed it to the actors, but yeah, you know, Sturla said that, I think, earlier, that, you know, these takes were our drafts. You know, we didn't work on the script. Here's something I sometimes say now, and it's a little provocative, but it's still in a way maybe true. I think scripts are overrated. And of course, you know, the saying goes, you need three things are important for great film: the script, and the script. And there's truth to that. But there's also, here's the thing that I believe is the most important for film, is the story. And the script has to serve the story. And I think the process of filming is checking on the script. Is the script really, all the solutions and the answers that are in the script, are they valid the moment you're like on the battlefield, on the play field? And I have a little bit the feeling that this filmmaking has become very obsessed with just executing what's in the script, you know, because we want to erase mistakes all the time. But nobody leaves the cinema saying, I love this film, they made almost no mistakes. You know, we love that, we go for something else into the cinema. And that's what I'm saying. Our drafts of the script were these 1 takes. And we were able to look at it and then make decisions like that worked, that did not work. And that is beyond if the performance was good or not. You could also, for example, there was a doctor in the hotel room towards the end. I think he was still there in the first take, if I'm not mistaken. Even the second one. And you know, in the normal process of making a film, you know, we have all the shots from the hotel room. You don't use any of the shots where the doctor's in. You know, that's how you take him out. But in our case, I call him up and I say, dude, you're great. You don't have to come on Sunday. You know, and yeah, that's really something that's spectacular about filming the film like this. That you can change anything. I was able, like, until the last day I could change everything, because we shoot the entire thing. So I can change everything, and I have a chance to look at the entire film beforehand. Of course, the other side of that is I have to do it in a really condensed time. You know, between the second take and the third take, we had 48 hours, and we made some substantial changes even within these 2 days, and that was insane.
Yes, sir.
So once you had shot everything, and then what was like your post-production like in terms of, there were a couple moments where the sound, you took the sound out, all sound, I guess when they went to the cafe, and then later on, maybe the second time they were in the club or something?
They were in the elevator. There's no sound either.
There was no sound. What was that decision about? I mean, I really enjoyed that because I feel like it really served the flow of the movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I also thought, like, if you do a film with no cut, post-production is going to be quick, you know. And it took some time, honestly, because we worked on the sound a lot. You know, we had the full, you know, we did a lot of cuts in this film, but they're all in the sound. You know, so we did ADR, we did Foley arts, we did sound design, we have music, you know, it's really, and I think that's really adding to the experience and to the, I think that's sometimes underestimated. If people do films for little money, you need great sound. You need great sound. If the sound is not good, that's a sense we are very, very precise with. We hear my mom calls me and I have a bad reception on my phone. I know how she's doing when she says hello, you know, and you guys know, you know, you hear everything. So I think the feeling that you get for the characters has a lot to do that a lot of this film has been boom, you know. They had the mics, you know, with the transmission or senders or whatever, but there was a lot of it was boom, and I think it's contributing to the film tremendously, that it's a real film. And let's not be mistaken, if this wouldn't have worked, stunt, whatever, I would have had to cut. You know, by the end of the day, who cares? You know, by the end of the day, it's about the story. This is entertainment. I love the word entertainment. You know, I also love great, fully laid out characters. But by the end of the day, entertainment includes all kinds of levels, deep levels, superficial levels, and, you know, it's a great thing. And by the end of the day, it doesn't matter if there's a cut or not. But I was lucky enough with being blessed with people like this, that we really pulled it off, you know, and yeah, that's my answer to post-production.
Yeah, we have time for one more question. Yeah, that woman right in the front line.